Hello, welcome to Doghead Tech and to a series where I try and take faulty gaming equipment and bring them back from the dead. In this episode we have a limited edition Sea of Thieves Xbox One controller which I've been very happy to get my hands on. The seller has stated that it doesn't centre itself on its left analog, and I've noticed on testing that the motor on the left trigger is also a little bit weak, so that may need replacing as well. Other than that, it seems to work perfectly fine. So in theory, it should be a relatively simple fix. However, I do seem to have more problems than not with Xbox One controllers. They seem a bit more finicky than PlayStation stuff. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get this thing apart. So still got this original battery cover, which is great. And it doesn't look like it's been taken apart before. That label's totally intact, but we'll soon see to that. On a lot of repairs that I do, or a lot of things that I purchase, I notice when they've been opened before, people go straight through the middle with a screwdriver. It's a bit of a pet hate of mine. So I'm making sure that this comes off all in one piece, kind of practice what I preach. Sometimes can be a little bit stubborn. Do want to be careful. The paint job on this, I don't want to scratch it at all. It's in great condition. Other than the analog sticks, which I'll chat to you about in a sec. Made a real big deal out of that one, didn't I? Right. If you haven't seen one of these before, Microsoft really do some great limited edition controllers. They've got this kind of barnacle finish, which I think's wicked. This emblem in the middle as well, it also glows in the dark, I noticed when I was sat in here one evening. So I mentioned that I tested this thing, and I also mentioned that the seller stated that it wasn't centering properly, and it's doing exactly that. It's not centering on its vertical axis. A lot of people describe that as being drift, but it's not drift. Drift is when you have a lot of wear on the analog itself, so much so that it doesn't center mechanically. The analog here is centering mechanically, but the problems with the potentiometer, the stuff that actually makes the connection and sends a signal to the board. So it's likely that that's worn to a point where it's now gone faulty. So theoretically, hopefully, if we swap that potentiometer around, then it shouldn't be a problem anymore. Whilst we're on the subject of analog sticks, you'll notice here, I'll just zoom in a little bit, analog sticks are a little bit chewed up. Unfortunately, I've looked high and low online and I can't find any replacements that have this kind of purplish base. I did purchase some others that were a little bit of a brighter purple and they just don't look right, if you ask me. So I'm going to keep the original sticks even though they're a little bit chewed up, and I'm going to have to retail this as a grade C. It's a shame I can't find any replacement sticks for these because it would have looked really, really great. But we're going to have to compromise and leave the original sticks on them even though they are a bit chewed up. But that's fine, it just means I have to sell it as grade C. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see there, they're less than ideal, they're pretty chewed up. I mean, if anyone knows where to pick up these analog sticks, then by all means let me know. I would love to know. Sorry if I sound a little bit croakier than usual. I wasn't very well last week, hence why there wasn't any video up. And I've still got the tail end of this, so I'm a little bit croaky. I don't know, maybe. I don't know if it's coming out on camera. So for you guys that don't know, the Xbox One controllers have two boards in them, two circuit boards, and we want the one that houses, or that has the analog sticks on, which is this first board here. So let's put this to the side for one mo, and we're going to focus on this guy. The problem is on the left analog stick, and it's on its vertical axis, and that is linked up directly to this potentiometer here. So I'm expecting to take this off and see a lot of wear. Maybe something's broken in there which has caused it to scratch, don't know. So let's flip this over and get this desoldered. Tell you what, I'm going to get this bit I'll show you what I mean. Now I'm anticipating, now we've got the potentiometer off, that under here will be something that's not looking potentially good, and I'll get this under the microscope so you can see. So yeah, very up close. Unfortunately I can't zoom out anymore. So we are very up close and personal with this thing. This disc here is, when you turn the analog stick, this is what moves around. So under here, if we remove this, push down on that, there we go. Turn this around, you can see here it's been scratched. So something has gone faulty, and it's actually caused this damage on the inside, and that's why it's not centering properly. If we come over to the actual disc itself, on this right hand side here, this looks like it's broken. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if the other side's the same. The other side doesn't look particularly great, and that was a bit chewed up too. Yeah, that one's broken as well. So I had this hanging around on my desk, and you'll notice straight away those points on the inside, they're nice and intact. There's a tiny bit of wear on there, but nothing crazy. On this replacement part that we're going to be putting in, you can see on this right hand side here, this left hand side here, that these are both intact. If we get this in, it should work totally fine, and I'm pretty confident of that. I am going to give it a little bit of a clean up, so then any residue that was on it, we give it the kind of the best opportunity to work. So I have soldered this back in now. I did do that off camera, and I said I'd do it off camera. I forgot to hit record, so good one. So now we have to change our focus. So now this part's done, let's bring in this guy again, which we need to fully disassemble so we can deep clean, and we also need to change this motor up here. Okay, so this is the troublesome motor, so let's get this out. So now that's in place and ready to be secured. The only thing that's left to do is to get the chassis cleaned up, so I'll do that off camera now. Okay, so the chassis has been cleaned up and it looks awesome. So in preparation to have this fitted, I'm literally just going to do a quick clean up of mid-frame, and then we can get all of this put back on, which has come out looking really, really great. The only thing that I'm not entirely stoked with is these analog sticks, and it's such a shame that we can't find replacement ones. But we'll have to make do with what we have. So let's get this thing back together and let's give this thing a test. I mean, I said earlier in the introduction that this is an Xbox One controller, and it is. I mean, it was released originally for the Xbox One, but with it being the later model, it means it connects up via Bluetooth, which means that you can connect this up to your new Xbox Series X or S if you want to. So you can use it for current gen. You can also link it up to your PC, Android devices, I think some Apple stuff off the top of my head, but don't quote me on that. So even if you don't have an Xbox One necessarily, you can still use this device to game on other devices. Believe it or not, if I get this thing fixed, I won't actually be keeping this one for a change. This will be the first device that I've repaired that will be going up for sale. So if you live in the UK and you are interested in purchasing this, this will go live at the same time that the video goes live. So do check it out. If you go on the website and it's not there anymore, then you can assume that it's been sold. So I've never played Sea of Thieves. I don't even know what the premise of the game is, but I'm always looking for new games to play. So tell me below what you think of Sea of Thieves. Why should I play it? Right, and now we're pretty much back together. One last test. Don't know if you'll be able to hear that. That's a lot better than what it was. All the buttons are working well. D-pad's working perfectly. Brilliant. Really, really chuffed with that. Right, and I'm happy to say that that's testing perfectly well. The headphone jack is working. It did need a firmware update, but that's been done. And it took the firmware update with no problems whatsoever. So let's finish this device off. And there we have it, one refurbished, pre-loved Sea of Thieves limited edition Xbox One controller. But yeah, dead chuff for that. The only issue and the only bugbear are these analog sticks, and it is such a shame that we're not able to find any reproduction ones in the same colour that we can swap these out for. However, as I say, it works perfectly well, and I'd rather keep it as original as possible as opposed to sticking some other funky jazzy colour on there and then it looking a little bit weird. So that being said, that completes this fix. That is repaired, and that brings us to the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. If you have liked what you've seen, then do like and subscribe. It is hugely appreciated. As mentioned before earlier as well, I will be putting this up for sale, so check out my store, that's in the description, and I'll hopefully see you again in another video very, very shortly. Thank you very much. Bye bye.